Bardzo się cieszę, witam wszystkich, którzy się połączyli internetowo i są tutaj z nami. The meeting is in English, so I welcome everybody who are online and are present here on this room. Thank you very much, Director of our Institute, to join us, and I would like to express my gratitude to you for your support for both our colleagues from Ukraine, from the Institute of Archaeology, of the National Academy of Science of Ukraine, and your support and assistance in obtaining the scholarships, and for the possibility to make it possible just to execute this scholarship in our institute. I would like to thank you very much and welcome, especially warmly, our Wykłady director, deputy director of the Institute of Archaeology, National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. And our thank you very much, Professor Wykłady, was also for the support. Thank you very much for your support and make also possible from the Ukrainian in part to make these scholarships and this exchange, I hope so, fruitful for both sides, for both institutions, make it possible. Thank you very much. Спасибо большое, Алла, тебе за поддержку и за то, что возможно было сделать этот обмен. Today during our meeting, we have two presentations. First is Dr. Katerina Saveleva from the both colleagues from Ukraine are from the Institute of Archaeology of the Ukrainian Academy of Sciences. And the first one is the Dr. Katerina Saveleva, who will present the information about her work during the last month, during the scholarship, which was possible thanks to the program of the exchange between Polish and Ukrainian Academy of Sciences. Thank you very much for that you're coming, and please, I give you a word, Katerina.
Hello. My research is focused on the comparison of terracotta figurines from two ancient cities of the northwest Black Sea region, Obia and Tyras. But before I describe the terracotta figurines, I would like to briefly explain what terracottas are and the place they occupy in the life of the Hellenes. Terracottas is the common term for objects made of clay, including statues, figurines, architectural elements, stamps, lamps, and other items. Terracotta is Italian for fired clay. Another common term is charoplastic arts. The word charoplastic comes from charoplasts, which was a term used in ancient Greece to indicate a modeler of image in clay. For this presentation, I will refer to charoplastic products that may be considered figurines. In addition to small figurines, there are also large-scale clay statues, but those are rare due to their fragility. The majority of terracotta figurines are small-scale, measuring 5 to 50 centimeters in height. Terracotta figurines were an important component of ancient Greek culture, as evidenced by their widespread distribution in ancient Greek cities. They were accessible to many people of different social status because they were made of inexpensive material and with the technology of mass replication with molds. Terracotta figurines are not only monuments of artistic craftsmanship and art, designed to satisfy aesthetic needs. They also had an important religious function. They are related to three main spheres: religious use as votives in temples or sanctuaries, domestic use as objects of household cult, decoration or toys, and funerary use as grave goods. The main way of using terracotta figurines was to make a sacrifice to gods as a votive gift. For this purpose, the figurines were placed in a special place, such as an altar. In a domestic cult, they could be also placed near the fireplace or in a niche or behind a special partition. When, over time, these figurines became too numerous, they were moved to a bothros. It's a special pit for burying ritual equipment. Before this, the objects were broken, signifying their ritual death. Most often, terracotta figurines depicted different deities, but also ordinary people, animals, and various votive objects such as loaves of bread, grains, fruit, or vegetables. One of the most difficult and controversial issues is the symbolic meaning that dedicants, visitors to sacred places, gave to a particular figurine. The examination of the archaeological context allows researchers to come closer to understanding the meaning that the figurines were given by their users. For example, when animal figurines are found in a children's burial, they are considered children's toys, and when they are found in a temple or bothros, they are considered votive offerings to the god. There are many examples when figurines with the same images were dedicated to different gods. They probably had different symbolic meanings depending on the deity to whom they were dedicated. Recently, based on the study of various sacred complexes, it has been suggested that terracotta images could have multivalent meanings. In other words, one figurine could have different meanings in different contexts. The use of terracotta figurines in funerary rites is very widespread, and their significance in these rites is also debatable. Terracotta figurines were not an obligatory element of the funerary inventory. They probably reflect the social status of the deceased. It is assumed that they were more often placed in the graves of priests or people initiated into mysteries, including both adults and children. Obviously, the Hellenes had no strict canons on how to use figurines. However, terracotta figurines are an important source for the study of religious life. Olbia and Tyras are located in southern Ukraine. Olbia is situated in the Mykolaiv region, on the shore of the southern Bug estuary, while Tyra is in the Odessa region, on the shore of the Dniester estuary. Terracotta figurines from Tyras were examined by me as part of my dissertation work. As for materials from Olbia, they are represented in the works of researchers such as Olena Vivi, Anna Rusyayeva, Tatiana Shevchenko, and others. However, I want to note that a complete catalogue of terracottas from Olbia has not yet been published, so some materials from Olbia are unknown to me. Part of the collection of terracotta figurines from Olbia, about 30 specimens, is kept in the Odessa Archaeological Museum, where I had an opportunity to examine it. My primary aim is to identify general trends in the development of choroplastic art in Olbia and Tyras, starting from the 4th century BC, because earlier materials have not been discovered in Tyras. The collection of terracotta figurines from Tyras includes about 300 pieces. They are mostly in a fragmentary state, but in most cases it is possible to determine whom they represent. This is not a large number compared to the collections of some other cities where they can number in the thousands. But explanation is the state of archaeological study of Tyras. Today, only part of the upper city has been excavated. The other part is blocked by a medieval fortress. The lower city is flooded by the estuary. The necropolis is overlapped by the modern city and has not been explored. You can see excavated areas on the photo. Also, the suspected location of the terminus is marked in yellow here. Geomagnetic scan shows there is a large objects in this location, but this area has not yet been excavated. However, as we know, it is sanctuaries and their surrounding areas that always yield the greatest amount of terracottas. Most of the finds from Tiras were excavated in residential houses or layers. This is why a relatively small number of terracottas have been found so far. You can see the so-called central excavation area on the photo. Residential houses of the Hellenistic and Roman time and structures of the Roman citadel have been excavated here. Public places of worship have not been explored in this area. The city of Tiras was one of the centers that produced terracotta figurines to supply its own needs. 8 molds for making figurines have been found. However, no traces of workshops or kilns have been investigated yet. Local production can be identified by the appearance of the clay, which is red-brown with added mica. According to my research, more than half of the figurines are local products. The situation with the Olbia collection is quite different. 3 temenoi with several centuries were discovered here. A large tank was excavated on the eastern temenos, which served as a Bothros during the 3rd and 2nd century BC. It contained about 2,000 fragments of terracotta figurines. According to Olena Levy, there was a workshop on this site. The products of the workshop could be sold immediately to visitors to the temples, making this location convenient. A Hellenistic necropolis has been investigated, but interestingly, there were no documented finds of terracotta figurines there. And several burials from Roman times with terracotta figurines have been discovered. Let's now turn to a characterization of the most common types of terracotta figurines. The most popular mythological characters were Aphrodite, Demeter, Cybele, Dionysus, and some other images associated with their cult. The depictions of Aphrodite in Hellenistic choroplastic were very diverse. Most of them reproduce well-known works of sculpture like Aphrodite Anadyomene or Venus Genetrix. However, in most cases, small fragments make it impossible to determine the exact type. Several variations of her image have been found in Olbia and in Tiras. Some of them were imported from the centers in Asia Minor. For example, the figurine of Aphrodite leaning on the statue with her elbow. Similar figurines were found in the centers of Asia Minor. Interestingly, the statue on which the goddess is leaning is made in the style of 6th to 5th century BC. According to some researchers, these archaic statues also depict Aphrodite, and thus her modern image is opposed to the more ancient one. This view opens up a wide range of interpretation of the symbolic meaning of these figurines. A very common type of terracotta figurines in Greek world were protons, one-sided representation of the upper part of a goddess's body. She usually wears a pause, it is cylindrical crown, on her head. The hands of the goddess against her breasts, symbolizing motherhood. It is believed that these figurines represent Demeter or Persephone, but as research shows, they could represent different goddesses. Some depictions were supplemented with specific markers that indicate which goddess is depicted. For instance, a goddess with a dove in her hands is traditionally considered to be Aphrodite, while one with a deer is identified as Artemis. As votive offerings, protons were brought to the sanctuaries of various goddesses, including Aphrodite, Hera, Artemis, Cybele, and the nymphs, and they can probably represent any female deity. The symbolic meaning of such images is that the goddess is rising from the underworld. They represent what the Greeks called the anodos, uprising, a transition from the one world to another. A few locally made protons from the 3rd century BC were found in Olbia, in the Bosphorus. In Tyros, only fragments have been found. Here I should mention a rather rare variant of the proton, which depicts Aphrodite with Eros on her shoulders. In the Pontic region, white specimen was found in Olbia, Tyros, and Calatis. Another group of depictions of goddesses is represented by bimeteria. These are three-dimensional representations of the upper body of a goddess with a bowl for burning incense on her head. They are found in Olbia, but are not yet known in Tyros. The depictions of Cybele sitting on a throne with a lion on her lap was very widespread during the 3rd and 2nd century BC. Their iconography was established in Attica in the late 5th century BC, but then developed in Asia Minor. There is an assumption that the popularity of the goddess in the Black Sea region is related to military danger, as she was considered a protectress of the city. For instance, on some figurines, we can see a headdress in the shape of a tower. In her right hand, she holds a patera, in her left, a tympanum. A standard accompaniment of the goddess are lions, elsewhere shown on her lap or at her feet. At least 500 fragments of figurines of local production and also molds were found in Olbia. Imported and local specimens were found in Tyros, but no molds were found. The next type is very interesting because it is almost unknown outside the western and northern Black Sea region. This figurine depicts a young deity with his wings spread. He is naked with a himation on his shoulders and a false crown on his head. These figurines are one-sided, have a flat back with a protrusion and a hole for honey. In Olbia, more than 40 specimens were discovered in the Bosphorus, while in Tyros only a few fragments were found in a house dating from the 3rd to 2nd century BC. A significant number of such figurines were discovered in Tauric Chersones, in graves and in houses of the 3rd century BC. They were also found in Calatis and in Odysseus. Outside the Black Sea region, only 3 units from Asia Minor are known to me. The meaning of this depiction is debatable. Researchers identify him mostly as Eros or Thanatos. Because they were found a lot in graves, some researchers have suggested that this is a depiction of Thanatos, the deity of death. The explorer of Chersonesus, Konstantin Gurevich believed that the good holds a torch lowered down in his right hand, but it is more likely to be the fault of the Himachal. Bulgarian researchers Goran Katoncheva and Milka Mirchev identified him as Eros. Anna Rusayeva proposed to consider him a syncretic deity Eros Iapos, who is closely related to Demeter. But all of these interpretations are not entirely convincing, though this issue is still unresolved. Representations of Dionysus most commonly take the form of theatre masks. Similar masks were produced by workshops in Anisos during the 2nd to 1st century BC. Molds for making masks were discovered in Olbia. In Tyros, alongside masks, herma depicting Dionysus were found. They were most likely imported from Asia Minor. In addition to images of the god, masks depicting his companions Silenus and Satyrs were also common in Olbia and Tyros. Depictions of actors and masks of actors were closely associated with the cult of Dionysus. During the Hellenistic period, various figurines of comic actors were widespread in the ancient Greek world. Originating from Attic workshops in the late 5th century BC, these figurines became most prevalent during the Hellenistic era. They depict different characters in Attic comedy, including women. The actors wear grotesque masks, and their costumes include artificial exaggerations such as a belly and phallus for comic effect. The next widespread type are general images. These terracotta figurines depict ordinary people, including women, men, and children. The absence of attributes of deities indicates that these characters were ordinary mortal people. Researchers have often considered these figurines as home decorations. However, numerous finds of these figurines in sanctuaries and burials suggest that they were used in occult practice as votives. There is an assumption that finds of figurines depicting girls or young women indicate their participation in certain rites of passage to biological and social maturity. The predominance of female images in this group of terracotta figurines is likely an indication that women were the most frequent performers of these rituals. Standing women are most commonly depicted. These terracotta figurines were created in Attica during the Hellenistic period. They most often called Tanagra because first discovered by chance during the 19th century in the necropolis of Tanagra in Boeotia. These figurines had a significant influence on production in other regions, particularly Asia Minor. Among the terracottas found in Olbia and Tyros, there are imports from Attica and Asia Minor, as well as local products. In general, this is one of the most common types of terracotta figurines in Tyros. They make up about 20% of the collection by my count. Among these figurines, there is a group of women with the lower part of their faces covered by a veil. These figurines, as well as the figurines of dancers, can be identified as depictions of participants in religious rites. In addition to depiction of women, general figurines also include images of men and children. Other things to mention are animal figurines and votive objects, such as ivy fruit, loaves of bread, and even a miniature depiction of a lamb, a 3 centimeter lamb Choroplastic also include aruli, miniature replicas of volcanoes. They likely used for burning incense. There is a special cup on top for that. Their walls are decorated with standard relief mythological scenes. The production of aruli began in Attica around the turn of the 4th to 3rd century BC. They were made in local workshops in different regions following Attic models without significant changes. In the Pontic area, the largest number of specimens were found in Chersonesus, Olbia, and Calatis. A significant number of fragments are discovered in the Bothos in Olbia, identified by Tatiana Shevchenko as local production. However, no arula molds were found there. Several such items were also found in Tyros, along with a fragment of a mold. So I have presented the most widespread types of terracotta figurines from Olbia and Tyros during the Hellenistic period. They are mostly dated to the 3rd and 2nd century BC. This was the period of the greatest prosperity of the choroplastics of the two cities. But in the second half of the 2nd century BC, an economic and political crisis began. This led to a decline in trade. We can state a sharp decrease in the number of terracottas of late 2nd and 3rd century BC in Tyros. Most likely, their production stopped. Olbia was destroyed by the Geta in the mid-1st century BC. Tyre was apparently not destroyed. It has been suggested that it was briefly invaded, but there's no definitive evidence. A new phase in the history of choroplastics is associated with the Roman Empire. In the second half of the 1st century AD, Roman soldiers arrived in the northern Black Sea region. Roman garrisons were stationed in the Gulf City in the early 2nd century AD. Probably Tyros and Olbia became part of the province of Lower Mysia. This point is debatable. After that, this region began an economic and cultural revival. You can see the remains of a Roman citadel in Tyros. Part of the defensive walls, 2 towers, and administrative buildings have been excavated here. Only 2 figurines were found directly in the Roman citadel, both depicting Venus with Eros or Priapus. About 50 terracotta figurines were discovered in residential houses and in layers of the 2nd to 3rd century AD. Likely they were mostly used in domestic cults. Generally speaking, Roman figurines of gods follow the Hellenistic tradition with some new types. For example, there are representations of goddesses or women. Some of these figurines have iconography that is not typical of ancient Greek art, like number 4 to 6. The goddess in picture number 4 is wearing a dress that seems to be made of a wool and a dragon head. According to Isaac Kleiman, she is a local goddess. Male deities are also represented. Figurines of Dionysus, Selinus, and Pan, Apollos, Serapis, and probably Attis and Kautas have been found in Tyros. In Olbia, according to publications, very few terracottas from this period have been discovered, some of them inside the Roman citadel. On the slide you can see some parallels between the Roman terracottas of Olbia and Tyros. Among them are the depictions of Priapus, Cybele with the lion sitting on the side of the throne, and Isis. The most interesting case to me is the depictions of Roman soldiers with articulated legs. They are found both in Olbia and in Tyros. These figurines are often considered children's toys, but it's also possible that they were used in a cult. Some of them were found in graves, including children's graves. Probably they had a protective role. These figurines have been discovered in several places, such as Olbia, Kazilka settlement, which is located near Olbia, Tyros, Roman fortress of Kartal on the Lower Danube, Tomis, Thessaloniki, Parion, but the greatest number of finds are documented in Olbia. Another group of terracotta figurines that should be considered are handmade anthropomorphic figurines. In Tyros, these figurines were used throughout the city's existence. Some of them are imitations of molded figurines, scene number 3, 4, 5. They have a more realistic appearance. Handmade figurines are also found in other Greek cities. In particular, several hundred pieces were found in Corinth, so they can be considered as part of the Hellenic culture. The other figurines are very primitive. Similar items have been found in Thracian settlements. Such finds probably indicate the residence of barbarians in ancient cities. This assumption is also supported by the findings of a large quantity of molded ceramics both in Tyros and Olbia. Terracotta figurines were an important element of religious life in Olbia and Tyros for many centuries, but in the 3rd century AD, their use ceased. Roman troops led the region in the middle of the 3rd century, but the cities were destroyed, by the Goths. Although life continued there after the invasion, but use of terracottas is no longer documented, except for a few primitive anthropomorphic figurines. In conclusion, there are many similarities in the evolution of pyroplastic art in Olbia and Tyros. The historical fate of these two cities was similar in many ways, and their material culture also has much in common. Terracotta figurines of different ancient cities have common features and certain specificity. Each region, due to different historical, economic, geographical conditions, has its own material culture and its own pyroplastics. There are parallels between terracotta figurines from Olbia and Tyros, indicated the same character of religious life. The variations of the types of terracotta figurines at different stages are primarily related to the religious sphere. It should be noted that there is a political aspect to the spread of certain cults. For example, the influence of Athens on religious life led to the spread of the Eleusinian cult in the Black Sea region, so there was a request for items related to this cult. The distribution of similar types of terracottas in Olbia and Tyros is related to common trade routes. Terracotta figurines were regularly traded among various regions of the Greek world. But there are difficulties in researching this issue. Firstly, not only figurines but also molds were transported. This made it possible to easily reproduce different types of imported figurines. Secondly, the molds were made locally by copying from imported figurines. There are first-generation molds which originated directly from the prototype. Figurines made in these molds are first-generation products, and molds copied from these figurines in turn belong to the second generation. As a result, of repeated reproduction from generation to generation, the figurines became smaller in size, and the details of clothing and facial features became less distinct. For example, you can see two figurines of Aphrodite from Tiras. In picture A, you can see an imported figurine from an unknown centrum. It's made of light-colored clay. The second figurine, see picture B, is made of local red-brown clay. Its artistic quality is lower than the first one, and the details of the face are indistinct. So it is impossible to identify the place of making the terracottas by their iconography. However, this issue can be solved by analyzing the clay. Antique centers that supplied pottery often imported terracotta figurines at once. During the 5th and 4th century BC, Attica was an important supplier of ceramic products, including terracotta figurines, to the northern Black Sea region. In the 3rd century BC, imports from Attica declined, but goods from the ancient centers of Asia Minor increased. In the late 2nd and early 1st century BC, Tiras and Olbia came under the influence of the Kingdom of Pontus. Several masks of Dionysus have been found, likely imported from Anis, which was the main center of production for such masks. In the 1st century AD, terracottas, as well as other items, probably came from the ceramic workshops of the provinces of Thrace and Lower Mysia. Some of them may have been brought here by Roman soldiers. There was an exchange of terracotta figurines between the cities of the Pontic region. What do we know about terracotta production in ancient cities of the northern and western Black Sea region? At least 80 moulds have been found in Olbia, some of them in a Bothrus of the 3rd to 2nd century BC, excavated near the sanctuaries. This suggests the location of a workshop near the sanctuaries. Molds have also been found in Tiras, Istria, and Chalcis. In Chersonesus, 6 chiroplastic workshops from Hellenistic times and 2 from the late Roman times have been investigated. In Panticapaeum, 2 workshops dating to the 1st century BC and the late 3rd century AD have been excavated. In Gorgippia, there was a potter's quarter that operated for several centuries, where molds were also found. These cities were connected by sea trade routes and exchanged their products. Coin finds and other sources illustrate the close relations between Tiras and Olbia during the Hellenistic and Roman periods. From this perspective, attention should be given to certain types of terracottas found in Olbia and Tiras, as well as in some other centers of northern Black Sea region, but rarely found outside this region. An example is the figurines of a winged male deity. Currently, it is unclear where the production of this type first began, in Olbia or Tauric Chersones or another centers. However, it is evident that Olbia was involved in their spread throughout the region. During the Hellenistic period, Olbia and Tiras largely supplied their own needs for terracotta figurines through local production. Most of the figurines from Tiras, based on visual analysis of clay, are locally produced. They were made by ordinary artisans and were industrial goods created to maximize profit with minimal effort. Most likely, these terracotta figurines had a low cost, as mass production allowed them to be created in large quantities in a short period of time. However, molds for making separate parts of the body have been found, demonstrating the professionalism of the craftsman, because creating a figurine consisting of separate parts require more skills, so the production had a professional level. It must be noted that many issues related to the local production and trade of terracottas between regions and between cities in the Pontic region have not yet been adequately studied. However, I hope that further research in this area will help us come closer to resolving these questions. I want to thank my Polish colleagues, especially Dr. Pardievsky, for the opportunity to work here. My work has been greatly aided by library research in Warsaw. And thank you for attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Katerina. So before I open the discussion, I would like to add that this is the presentation mainly of your PhD thesis, and so far I know you are preparing the publication, and your visit here in Poland, in Warsaw, during the scholarship. The main aim, it was the library work to find comparative material and the newest literature. So good luck with your publication, and thank you for being here. Okay, I open the questions. If somebody would like to ask question online or here? Somebody maybe who join us online? Okay, so I see no questions. So I have one question to you, Katerina, if I may. Anyway, what is in quantitatively, what is the balance between the imports and local production? It is very interesting to me. You said that it was imported also marks and the forms for the production, local production, after the Greek or imported originals. Yes. So could you tell, after this material you just started, how is the proportion between the local production of the terracottas in Olbia and Tyras and the imports? And it is difference. This is the most interesting to me. There is a difference in this balance in Olbia and Tyras, because Tyras is closer to the Roman provinces, Messia, Thracia.
Excuse me, my English.
На русском какая
I understood the question, but
okay.
I speak fluently.
Okay, no problem.
May I answer for Russian?
Okay. На русский будет.
Excuse me. Какие пропорции между местной продукцией и импортными?
Да, в Tyras и в Olbii есть какая-то разница между ними?
Я не могу говорить про Ольгу, потому что я не работала с этими материалами непосредственно. Я знаю только часть коллекции по публикациям. А насчет Тиры я могу сказать примерно, что это где-то, это очень примерно, где-то процентов 70-80, но не могу сказать точно, потому что для этого нужны анализы глины.
Але 70% импорта?
Местный, да.
So there is 70% of the local production in Tyras.
Примерно.
Okay.
Примерно.
Okay, about, let's say, this way. This is interesting. So it shows the proportion between imports and the local production. Thank you very much for the answer, and again for being for this month. Your scholarship was 1 month, and I hope that it was fruitful for you to us. So we close now this first part of our meeting, and we make now a technical break, few minutes, just to switch to other presentation. Thank you very much. Pani Renato, to teraz zamykamy.